This is absolutely sickening, and if you're not enraged by the most brutal and most cowardly assault in WWE history, then you clearly missed the Visionaries and Brock Lesnar forming an unholy alliance to systematically destroy Roman Reigns on Raw in an attack so vicious that Roman had to be carried out on a stretcher with injuries so severe that doctors are saying his career might be over. If you think this was just typical wrestling violence, you're dead wrong, because what I'm about to expose proves that Seth Rollins orchestrated this ambush with surgical precision specifically to end Roman's career once and for all, and Brock Lesnar's involvement proves that the most dangerous man in WWE just became Seth's personal executioner, targeting anyone who threatens the Visionaries' dominance. Comment right now if you think Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar should be arrested for what amounts to attempted murder on live television, because the way they systematically targeted Roman's previously injured body parts with calculated brutality shows this wasn't about competition or sending a message. This was about ending Roman Reigns permanently and ensuring he can never challenge for the throne that Seth just claimed. The fallen tribal chief just became the latest victim of the Visionaries' reign of terror, and the carnage we witnessed proves that nobody in WWE is safe anymore. Let me break down exactly what happened, because every single moment of this attack was premeditated and designed to inflict maximum long-term damage on Roman's already compromised body. Roman wasn't even scheduled to appear on Raw. He was reportedly there for medical evaluations following his crown jewel loss and the subsequent betrayals he suffered. He was vulnerable, alone, without the bloodline protection he used to have. Roman was walking through the backstage area, trying to get to his car and leave the arena, when the lights suddenly went out in that section. The emergency lights provided just enough illumination to see shapes and shadows, and that's when the Visionaries struck. Not just one or two members, the entire faction, with Seth Rollins leading the charge and Brock Lesnar beside him like a weapon of mass destruction waiting to be unleashed. The initial attack came from behind, cowardly, just like everything Seth Rollins has ever done. Multiple Visionaries members jumped Roman simultaneously, overwhelming him with numbers before he could even mount a defense. They weren't throwing worked punches for the cameras, these were stiff strikes designed to hurt, to disorient, to break Roman down before the real punishment began. Here's a trivia question for longtime fans: how many times have Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns faced each other in singles matches throughout their WWE careers? Drop your count below. Roman tried to fight back, showing that warrior spirit that made him tribal chief for so long, but the numbers game was too much. For every Visionary he pushed away, two more took their place. They were like a swarm, relentless and coordinated, following a plan that Seth had clearly drilled into them. This wasn't chaos, this was execution of a carefully designed strategy to destroy Roman Reigns. Then Seth stepped forward, and the look on his face was chilling. No remorse. No hesitation. Just cold, calculated satisfaction. Seth grabbed Roman by the hair, forced him to look up, and said words that the cameras barely caught but eyewitnesses reported: "This is what you get for thinking you're better than me. This is what happens when you refuse to acknowledge that I'm the king now. You had your time, Roman. Tonight, your time ends." Drop a comment: is Seth Rollins more villainous than any heel we've seen in modern WWE? Let me know if you think Seth has gone too far with this attack. Seth then signaled to Brock Lesnar, and what followed was the most brutal assault WWE has allowed on television in years. Brock grabbed Roman like he was a ragdoll and delivered the first of multiple German suplexes. But these weren't performed on the padded floor or on wrestling mats. The Visionaries had cleared the area, exposing the concrete underneath. Every suplex saw Roman's back and neck spike into solid concrete with sickening thuds that echoed through the backstage area. After the third German suplex onto concrete, Roman wasn't moving anymore. He was unconscious or close to it. Any normal human being would have stopped. Any person with a shred of decency would have realized the damage was done. But Seth wasn't satisfied. He wasn't even close to satisfied. He wanted Roman destroyed beyond any possibility of recovery. Seth ordered the Visionaries to position Roman against a wall, holding him upright even though Roman couldn't stand on his own. Then Brock hit a devastating running knee strike that sent Roman's head snapping back into the concrete wall. The sound of Roman's skull hitting that wall will haunt everyone who heard it. Medical experts watching at home were screaming that this had crossed from wrestling to actual assault causing traumatic brain injury. But they still weren't done. Seth, showing the sadistic streak that's been bubbling under the surface for years, produced a steel chair. Not a gimmicked breakaway chair, a solid, heavy, legitimate steel chair. Seth handed it to Brock with instructions that were chillingly clear: his ribs. Target the ribs. Brock obliged with 3 full-force chair shots to Roman's midsection, each impact producing sounds that made even the hardened backstage personnel wince. Quick question: what is the name of Seth Rollins' finishing move that he uses as the Visionary? Show me you know your Rollins moveset. The medical assessment that came later revealed just how devastating this attack was. Roman suffered multiple fractured ribs, at least 4, possibly more. Severe concussion with loss of consciousness. Spinal bruising that could have resulted in paralysis if the damage had been slightly worse. Internal bleeding requiring emergency surgery. The list of injuries read like something from a car accident, not a wrestling show. the WWE Universe's reaction was split in the most disturbing way. Some fans were horrified by what they witnessed, calling for Seth and Brock to be suspended or fired for crossing lines that should never be crossed. But disturbingly, a portion of fans were celebrating Roman's destruction, so consumed by hatred for his years of dominance that they applauded seeing him suffer regardless of how excessive the violence was. The aftermath showed Roman being loaded onto a stretcher, neck brace applied, barely conscious, being wheeled to an ambulance while Seth and the Visionaries watched with satisfaction. Seth even grabbed a microphone and delivered a promo over Roman's broken body. Let this be a lesson to everyone in WWE. The Visionaries don't just defeat our enemies, we erase them. Roman Reigns was a relic of the past trying to hold on to power he no longer deserved. Well, the past is now buried. This is my era. My WWE. And anyone who challenges that will end up exactly like Roman, broken, bleeding, and forgotten. Tell me in the comments, should WWE have stopped this attack from airing, or was showing the brutality important for the storyline? Where's the line between compelling television and going too far? The implications of Brock Lesnar being part of the Visionaries are staggering and change the entire WWE power structure overnight. Brock is Seth's enforcer, doing his dirty work, being the ultimate weapon that Seth can deploy against anyone. That's terrifying. Nobody in WWE can stand up to Brock Lesnar in a fight, which means nobody can stand up to the Visionaries if Brock is their protection. The question of how Seth convinced Brock to join the Visionaries is fascinating. What did Seth offer? Was it money? Creative control? The promise of championships? Or does Brock simply respect Seth's vision and want to be part of building this new empire? The dynamics of their partnership will be crucial to watch because Brock has never been someone who takes orders easily. The Bloodline's response, or lack thereof, was telling. Where were the Usos? Where was Solo Sikoa? Where was anyone from Roman's family to protect him? The fact that Roman was completely alone during this assault shows how thoroughly the Bloodline has fractured. The family that was supposed to be forever has abandoned Roman in his darkest hour. Paul Heyman's involvement was suspicious. Reports suggest Paul was in the building during this attack but did nothing to warn Roman or help him. Some sources claim Paul actually knew about the attack in advance, that Seth informed him as a courtesy since Paul is now managing other talents. If Paul had knowledge and said nothing, that's another layer of betrayal Roman has to process. What's your prediction? Will Roman Reigns ever wrestle again after this attack, or did Seth and Brock just end his career permanently? Give me your honest assessment. The medical community's reaction has been intense. Real doctors watching this attack have expressed concern about WWE showing such brutal violence and the message it sends. Concussion specialists pointed out that Roman's injuries as portrayed would require months of recovery minimum, and rushing him back too soon could result in permanent brain damage or even death. WWE is facing criticism for potentially glorifying traumatic brain injury. The potential for Roman's comeback, if he can even come back, is the most compelling storyline WWE has available. Imagine Roman having to rebuild not just his career but his entire life after this assault. Having to relearn how to trust people after being abandoned by everyone. Having to overcome both physical injuries and psychological trauma. That's deep storytelling if WWE commits to it properly. The legal implications are fascinating. In the real world, what Seth and Brock did would result in assault charges, attempted murder charges, conspiracy charges. But in WWE's world, do normal laws apply? Should they? The moral questions about violence in entertainment and where the boundaries are have been reignited by this angle. The championship picture is now dominated by Seth and the Visionaries. With Roman out of commission, potentially permanently, there's a power vacuum at the top of WWE that Seth is positioned to fill completely. Unless someone rises up to challenge the Visionaries, Seth could dominate WWE in ways that make Roman's reign look short by comparison. Here's a controversial question: did Roman Reigns deserve this attack after years of holding down younger talent and maintaining his spot at the top through politics? Or is that victim blaming? Be honest. The potential for new stars to emerge is exciting. With Roman gone and Seth having his hands full maintaining power, other wrestlers have opportunities they've never had before. Someone could use this chaos to make a name for themselves by being the one who finally stands up to the Visionaries. That kind of star-making moment is rare in modern WWE. The Brock Lesnar factor cannot be overstated. Having Brock as part of a faction rather than as a solo act is unprecedented in his WWE career. Brock has always been a lone wolf, doing his own thing, following his own path. For him to align with Seth and the Visionaries suggests he sees something special in this group, something worth being part of rather than conquering alone. The symbolism of Seth destroying Roman specifically is loaded. These are former Shield brothers. They've been intertwined throughout their entire WWE careers. For Seth to be the one delivering the final blow, potentially, to Roman's career completes a narrative arc that's been building since 2014 when Seth first betrayed the Shield. This is closure in the most brutal way possible. What's your take? Is Brock Lesnar's decision to join the Visionaries a smart career move, or is he diminishing his status by being part of a group? Give me your analysis. The social media reaction has been nuclear. Wrestling Twitter is divided between people horrified by the violence and people celebrating Roman finally getting what he deserves. The discourse has gotten ugly, with fans attacking each other over their opinions about whether this storyline crosses ethical boundaries. WWE is generating massive engagement, but at what cost to their fan base's unity? The merchandise implications are dark. Does WWE sell Visionaries Destroy Everyone shirts celebrating this attack? Do they create sympathy merchandise for Roman's recovery? How do you monetize violence this extreme without coming across as exploitative? The marketing team has difficult decisions about how to capitalize on this storyline's heat. The mainstream media attention is growing. Sports news outlets are covering this story because of the extreme nature of the violence and the questions it raises about entertainment standards. WWE is getting publicity, but it's the kind of controversial attention that could hurt their family-friendly brand image and corporate partnerships. One final question: if Roman Reigns does return for revenge, what stipulation should the match with Seth Rollins have to properly pay off this brutal assault? Give me your booking ideas. The long-term implications for WWE's storytelling are profound. Are they setting a new standard for violence that all future feuds will be measured against? Or is this a one-time escalation that will dial back down to normal levels? The precedent being set here will affect WWE's creative direction for years to come. Now I want to hear from you, the Wrestling Newsletter family. Tell me in the comments, did the Visionaries and Brock go too far with this attack? Can Roman Reigns recover and get revenge? Is Seth Rollins the most despicable villain in WWE history? Should Brock Lesnar face consequences for his role? Will anyone be able to stop the Visionaries now? Is this the most brutal attack you've seen in WWE? Smash that like button if you're horrified by what Seth and Brock did to Roman. Destroy that like button if you think Roman deserved this after years of dominance. We need maximum engagement. Subscribe to Wrestling Newsletter because we're covering Roman's recovery and the inevitable revenge story. Share this video with every wrestling fan because the Visionaries and Brock Lesnar attacking Roman Reigns on Raw is the most shocking and most brutal moment of the year. Roman Reigns is broken. Seth Rollins is ruthless. Brock Lesnar is the Visionaries' destroyer. The bloodline has fallen, and WWE will never be the same. This is the kind of intense, controversial storytelling that makes wrestling unforgettable even if it makes us uncomfortable. The war has only just begun.